It's nice to make your acquaintance.
Yeah.
Where do you live typically?
I'm living in Antwerp in Belgium.
You're in Belgium.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Antwerp. It's like half an hour from Brussels.
Right. That's correct. And you're in film. It's a new documentary you made called Mother, and we're going to talk about that at some length in a minute. But are you in Chicago because of the film? Are you doing a screening or something?
Yeah, just in a couple of, I want to say a couple of hours, but actually it's like in, I think, a good hour. No, well, it's in 2 hours. North American premiere here in Competition in Chicago. And then tomorrow there's another one. And then in 1 week and a half, almost 2 weeks, we're going to DOC NYC.
Right. And then this will be promoting that screening.
Yes.
With this conversation. Okay, very good. Well, Kristof, this is your, fourth feature film? How many films have you made, and have they all been documentaries?
This is kind of my third longer film. So my first feature film was called Elephant's Dream, which was about public sector workers in Kinshasa, in Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that premiered in 2014 in ITFA and Hot Docs in Leipzig. And Margaret Mead, and then a good 5 years later now there's Mother, which is my second feature.
I'm glad for the opportunity to have seen it. It was really moving. First of all, I have a personal connection to a mother with dementia, so there's that. And I'm sure this is not the first you've heard that in your talking to people and meeting people. How did you meet or connect with Kirsten Johnson, who's a friend and who has done this podcast? And
funny. It's a small world. Well, actually, this film sort of has a strange set of coincidences. I don't know, it's coincidences or serendipity rather. Basically, when we were sort of 70% into the editing of the film, I was thinking of, okay, it would be good to have somebody really possibly supporting the film. At least I want to show it to. And the year before, we were running in Belgium, we were running a documentary little cinema called Woodstock Cinema in Antwerp, where we showed Camera Person.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Camera Person is such a film very, very dear to my heart, because it's everything I would say I stand for myself as well. It's anything to do with gentle observations, a curiosity, and openness. Not like the perfect beginnings or endings, but sort of these moments in the middle when you're in the middle of a process of making a film. And she made a film of all of those moments, and I was so struck by that, like the simplicity and I don't know, the honesty of it, I guess, and the eloquence.
And it's a film which you get to see what seems like just a random collage or montage of images. You get to put together all sorts of connections. I thought that was a very powerful film that she made.
Yeah, I mean, all this kind of seamlessly random associations actually all make sense and are like really touching moments in people's lives and characters' lives and her own life as well. And especially when she sort of intertwines it with her own relationship to her father and her mother with Alzheimer's. So that sort of stayed with me, and I thought, okay, let's see what Kirsten Johnson thinks about my work, and I just I sent a cut of a film to her, and she really loved it and really wanted gave wonderful feedback on it, and then I asked her if she wanted to be the exec producer on the film, and that's how.
That's very generous. So Mother is, you can jump in. Your central character, if you will, of course she's a real person, is Pomm. Is that how you pronounce her name? Pomm?
Yes.
She is Thai.
Correct.
But she spends almost all of her time in. She's a mother she's a mother of 3 young children, but she barely spends time with them because in order to get by, she has to work. She has chosen to work in a home for foreign patients with dementia or Alzheimer's or what have you. And, so what you were encountering as we watch your film is her with a couple of different people that over time that she has created. They're not just caretaker and patient, but they become very close. She has a very big heart. she is in this impossible position at the same time, a situation where she's constantly saying goodbye to people. It's like either she has to constantly say goodbye to her children after brief visits, or she has to say goodbye to her patients after they have either passed or maybe perhaps they get too ill to stay at the home.
Mm-hmm.
How did I do?
I mean, it's interesting. It's a film, I would say, about letting go, and the whole.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the whole process of making the film was basically a matter of letting go. I also dare to say that it became quite personal, as I lost my own mother in spring, which was closely tied to making the film. But yes, it's interesting to have a main character who is sort of in the middle, having to let go and say goodbye constantly to her children, and then actually is the perfect one to sort of exercise or sort of demonstrates in how you can be mindful with saying goodbye and letting go. And as an audience, you sort of learn by every stage of watching the film that you have to sort of confront yourself, with your own life and things that you have to let go in your own life. So it's on one hand, it's very painful and quite tough to watch at times. On the other hand, I think it's a very tender film and a very, quite a mindful film in that respect. Like, there's a sadness, but then there's also, Did
Pomm take care of your mother, or how did you come to meet?
No, so my own mother, no. My mother would never go to Thailand. There's no discussion about that. She knew about the film, and she was suffering a scope of dementia, but she was, I never considered to literally bring my own mother there. But part of sort of my the reason to make the film was, while I was researching ways of giving informal care to my own mother. Is there another way to an old people's home? Is another way of anything to do with informal care? And by researching, I stumbled upon this place. And so initially it was a film about dementia and Alzheimer in this sort of village context in Thailand. But then one of the first people I met there was exactly Pomm, with the old first patient you will meet in the film, Elizabeth, an old Swiss lady who was very beautiful to watch and very physically, like your own grandmother, kind of a universal archetype. And Pomm was so powerful. I mean, in a way, I would say intriguing. There was a mystery about her, a charisma about her. She was not just your caregiver, your ordinary caregiver. There's something very universal about her, And I think the most touching thing, striking thing about her is that immediately she shared her own story, which is not always the case. So how she sort of transgresses her having to let go of her kids, but then giving care to these old people with Alzheimer. So there's sort of, you could say, compensation to that, or process for her. And I immediately felt like, okay, this is a film about motherhood. It's not only about care and Alzheimer, which is in itself maybe a bit boring or could be off-putting. It's about something much bigger that is, relevant to all of us. We're all mothers, fathers. Have fathers, mothers is the only way we get to this earth plane, I would say. So Pomm became this protagonist of this film that's now about motherhood.
It sounds like, from the way you're describing the process of coming to make Pomm the center of your film, that this was a film that found itself through a period of time and of listening to the footage and really letting it tell you something, and then you, as a result of that, you realize, oh, okay, now I see where this is going, because you obviously started off intending to do one thing, and then it became this completely other film.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's maybe overly romantic to say, it so happened and there she was. I mean, it's of course a matter of, I guess, intuition and really wanting to go after a certain dramaturgy of the film. So one of the things, for example, with Pomm was that she's so exceptionally in this kind of helicopter vision that she knows to sort of observe her own situation that she's in. So one of the things that we did initially was to give her a little camera, like a video diary camera, right?
I see.
Yeah, and it was actually an idea of possibly it's a way of keeping track on her story while we are not physically there. But then soon enough, she came up with this hugely powerful footage that you will see in the film, which immediately made clear that she's actually the protagonist. She's the one that takes the agency. She's the one that will tell the story with us. Eventually, if you see the film, it feels like it so happened. But I think we soon enough felt like, yes, we have to go with her and we have to twist the story. So it's just to say, it's not something that just came about in the edits. But yes, I enjoy the process of making documentary where you have to constantly adapt.
Yeah, no, I think I even meant before the edit. I think I was talking about even as you were shooting it, and maybe even like just figuring out what kind of story you wanted to tell, to then shooting it and then looking at the footage perhaps and talking to Pomm and just realizing that this is, it's has a life of its own. I don't know, and you have to kind of figure out what that is.
One step further even, which was quite amazing. It's like, okay, of course we felt like we wanted to have one patient that would travel all the way from Switzerland to Thailand, right? And then we already casted Pomm, we already knew about her charisma and her story as a single mother. And then after waiting for a very long time, where the guy running the center said, well, it's quite problematic to find someone or a family that wants to film that whole process or allowed to film the whole process.
That's right.
We found this mother who had to leave her 3 children behind. So this mother, young woman of Switzerland with Alzheimer's, has 3 daughters and her husband. And she's the one who moves all the way up from Switzerland to Thailand. So you have Pomm and this woman mirroring, which is, it's beauty of documentary for me, that serendipity of a process that sort of defines to you, like, this is a story that will be told,
Yes, it was pretty incredible. And was that Maya?
Maya, indeed.
And what is it? I mean, Maya and Elizabeth, these are the patients. They seem just to, I don't know if is it Pomm, do you think? Or do you think it's just, could have been anyone that was, sensitive? Or is it specific to Pomm's nature that these women just seem to just trust her so, and they really allow her to guide them and to take care of them? It's not an easy thing. Whereas with their own family, it's more complicated, it's...
No, it's the ties that bind. And I mean, I had the same with my own mother. The moment where I guess could accept it more was after filming and working with Pomm, to see how tender and how mindful she goes about working with Maya and Elizabeth. And I mean, you see throughout the film that there's a dialectic, there's a dialogue, and it's there is a proper relationship between caregiver and patient. It's not something that just comes about. I think it has to do with time, space, the scale of things. It's only 14 patients. The tranquility, but definitely also Pomm, who is a very open, a very smart, observant, I would say.
I mean, one takes for granted that she's this very, simple person because she's from this probably small town in Thailand. And by simple, I certainly don't mean intellectually. I just mean her values, her nature.
Yes.
In fact, she's probably a very sophisticated caregiver. Which, so it's no accident that, let's say, Maya would connect with her so strongly or, and put her trust in her.
I think one of the things that Pomm, she doesn't say in the film, but she did say it in interviews, is like, we are the arms and the legs and we are the representatives of the patients. In order to do that job well, is really to empathize. And I think that's something that I was amazed by, to see how Pomm really... and also you have to invest your own life, You have to invest your own kind of being, doubts. Like Pomm describes in the film, her patients become sort of confidantes, really there is an exchange between them. You can't professionally say, I just do my job. No, you have to really fully...
No, not that kind of job. You're absolutely right. Who from the film has seen, I assume Pomm has seen it.
So Pomm has seen it right before the premiere in Sheffield, the world premiere in Sheffield, and she was completely on board. I mean, it's funny. Her own feedback was like, somewhere there's a Skype call with the husband of the new patient. Well, that sound of the Skype call could be a bit longer or a bit shorter. I don't know. So she was really giving directions rather than anything else. But in terms of story and in terms of point of view and all of that, she was completely on board. She no remarks whatsoever.
And she just thought it all came, the story.
It all came together. Yeah, well, totally. And then for the family as well, I mean, there was no issue whatsoever. I mean, we took a long time in sort of building the trust with the Swiss family. And for them, it's a testimony and also a legacy to, or how to say, like a tribute to Maya, you know, as is the film a tribute from Pomm to her children. So yeah, I can happily say that everybody is totally on board and involved. Yeah.
Obviously, the film is having a very successful festival life. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, it had its world premiere at Sheffield, which is, of course, in the UK. It's a big festival, a very prestigious festival. And then you're going to be at DOC NYC, which is pretty prestigious. And I don't know where else. You mentioned, obviously, in Chicago, you're showing it.
And Hot Springs. Mm-hmm.
Hot Docs?
Hot Springs.
Oh, Hot Springs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is there a plan to perhaps use this? I mean, if I had seen this film like 10 years ago, or say 7-8 years ago, I would have had a good impact, because I could see, don't necessarily, it's complicated, depends on who, the specific person, but like my mother's case, she would have been much better off not at home much sooner. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so many different aspects to any person's case, and it's very difficult to make the right call. But I mean, we would not have sent her to Thailand, but it's interesting how maybe the Swiss have a very different feeling. But on the other hand, you could see the pain and the anguish of the kids of leaving their mother. It was very difficult. It's a bit of a jagged pill to watch that part. But anyway, it would have been quite a salve, and given me comfort at the very least. It may not have provided specific solutions to me, but I could see this film and feel very, okay. There are solutions to make people comfortable. And this is maybe the biggest thing which Pomm does so well, is she gives, Maya and Elizabeth their integrity. And at a certain point, when you're not as self-conscious, because, it's just not in your capacity, I suppose, and you're not putting your makeup on, and you're not doing your hair, and you're not but you deserve it, because all your life you've been a caregiver of others. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you've been human being with integrity, and just because you can't take care of yourself in that way anymore, I think you deserve that for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree, and I think that's what the film is doing clearly. Is like one of our biggest supporters now with the release in Belgium and Holland is Dementia, is a national dementia organization, not specifically Alzheimer but dementia, and the informal caregiver organization. As to why, obviously, because it's a discussion, it's a debate we all need to have in a world that's getting, you could say, pretty grim at times, with certain politicians and a harshness and a stress we all have to go through. And I think
I thought you were going to say that everybody's 1 degree from somebody with dementia.
Yes, also. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but
we're all living so long.
It's wider, but on that personal level, yes, we're all one way off, or one level from somebody with dementia, Alzheimer's, or we need to or we lost someone. And this film really seems to open a debate. Not only people tend to come up to me after a screening, very emotional, to share a story which they haven't told. It's a huge taboo. But then also people really start talking to each other afterwards, like what are options? How do we go about it? It's something that actually we don't talk about enough. It's the elephant in the room. What do we do with that?
Right. Yes, I agree. I told people, very publicly, I've said, please contact me if you're going through this, because I've figured a lot out, and part of what I figured out was by talking to other people that also have parents with dementia. Mm-hmm. So the question, I guess, is, Kristof, is there a plan to use this as a tool? I mean, there's institutional distribution, educational distribution, and I didn't know if that was in your plan as well.
We're actually doing all of that. So first of all, the film will be, it was released like a little cinema release in the UK on World's Alzheimer Day, September 21st. But we're also doing this dementia cafes. They have all throughout Belgium and Holland where they do this conversation-based, you could say therapy between family members and informal carers to talk about the topic. We're doing debates, screenings, event screenings coupled with debates around caregiving and all of that.
Oh, yes.
And also doing educational distribution in the US is one of the plans as well. So, it's a film that really needs kind of this framework around it, and we're totally, really
how do people
after all those solutions.
Right. Well, we'll keep people abreast with how to see the film and how to make. Where does, let's say somebody's listening and they're interested in screening the film potentially, if not now, maybe down the line, where they might reach out to you or to your producers?
Yes, of course. So you can find everything on www.motherthedocumentary.com, or you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/motherthedocumentary, and never hesitate to send an email through those channels, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. And before we finish, I also wanted to let New Yorkers know, for those New Yorkers who will be in the New York City area or in New York City coming in November, in the early November, Mother will be showing at the Cinepolis Cinema in Chelsea, New York on Friday, November 8th at 10:30 a.m. and on Saturday, November 9th at 3 p.m. And I believe that you are expected to attend.
Together with Kirsten Johnson.
With Kirsten Johnson, friend Kirsten Johnson and former podcast guest Kirsten Johnson. Hopefully we'll get her back on soon. But it was great to talk to you, and I was really grateful for the opportunity to see your film. It's very, as I said, it's important, and also it's a nice film to watch, and it's food for the soul. You made a great film.
Thanks so much. Have a lovely day.
Okay, thank you. You too, and have a good screening and Q&A.
I will do so. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll see you in New York.
See you. Bye.